I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
What's up, AfterBuzzers, and welcome to the Vagrant Queen After Show. We have a very special guest back in the house. Whoop, whoop. Welcome, Jem Gerard.
Hey, guys.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello. Happy to be back. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, of course. We're happy to have you back, especially talk about this very fun episode, which had been teased up a bit before. So we're talking episode 8, No Clue. We're going to get into that in just a minute. But before we do, my name is Carrie Lane. I'm joined by my awesome co-host.
Hi, I'm James Maple. Good to see you guys again.
Yay! And then we do have a live chat going. So if you're watching this live, join us in the chat. Have your questions there. And if you're watching it later, no problem. Please comment down below. Also, huge thank you to everybody who was retweeting, commenting, and sharing all of our posts on Twitter. We really appreciate it and love spreading the Vagrant Queen love because, you know, we all got to spread that love. Yay!
Thank you.
Yes. So, James, before we really get into it, what did you think of this episode? And you have a little confession about a certain movie that you have not seen.
Yeah. Okay, fine. So yes, I have never seen the movie Clue. I think I've played the game maybe a couple times in my childhood, so I have a base understanding. But to me, it was always one of those things. It was like a cultural thing that like you just know it because you know it. Like it's just part of our culture growing up. So I didn't really feel the need to watch it. Regarding this episode, I think I might watch Clue after this episode. It pushed me to watch it. This episode was great. I dare to say, my favorite episode thus far. For me personally, I'm a big comedy fan, so the little comedic jabs and the throwback to old Hollywood definitely stood out to me. So 2 thumbs up on my part.
Awesome. It's good to know that you got a lot out of it, having, you know, not seen Clue and you know, not necessarily knowing all of those you know, those quotes and those moments. So that's good to hear.
Yeah.
I was so curious about that. I love the movie Clue. I've seen it many a times. I was in the play Clue. So
who did you play?
I played Mrs. White.
Awesome.
Yes. We had a dual cast too. So I had one time where I played with the other cast and like the other Mrs. White, and I swapped out like if you weren't available or something. So, oh yeah, no, this play is very fun. Yeah, no, I was so glad to hear that you liked it, James, because I was kind of curious of there's probably plenty of people watching this episode and never seen Clue. But if you have, it is shot for shot, motions and dialogue that was so funny. So I'm glad to hear it was funny, even if you haven't seen it. Now go watch it and you'll be like, wait, this seems so familiar.
Yeah.
Now, Jen, before we get into going through the episode, I kind of was curious, could you talk briefly about like, how did you do this in terms of like copyright? You know, like, is it public? Like, how do the logistics of that work? Because it's so much of it is exactly the same.
Yeah, I think, you know, when it's an homage like that and it's clearly, you know, satirical, there's a certain amount of freedom you have with that. You know, I pitched the idea and then, you know, trusted in my producers to make sure that we're all good to go ahead and do it. And you know, they said it was. The Syfy were happy to go ahead. And some of our earlier drafts, you know, were sort of a little bit more Clue inspired, but they weren't necessarily taking those quotes directly. They were, you know, rewording or, you know, something similar and situations that were similar. And then, yeah, we sent it to Syfy and kind of decided along the way that, no, we should go full Clue with it. You know, we should replicate those moments on the Winnipeg, do the space version of that. And so that's what happened.
Nice. And then how did you get the initial idea of like, you know, I want to do a Clue episode?
I know, very random, right? Well, when we were in the writer's room, we knew we wanted to do a bottle episode, you know, an episode that's set in one location. And obviously, you know, that had to be the Winnipeg. And so when we were throwing around ideas of what that could be, and where it would fit in the season, it worked best in episode 8 because, you know, we went through a very heavy mid-season for the characters. And then episode 7 was really about that team coming back together. And so 8 felt like the perfect moment to kind of stop and have a bit of fun before they're thrown into the epic finale. So it really seemed to fit there. And when we were coming up with ideas for, you know, what could happen in this bottle episode, and, you know, characters that could randomly show up, we thought like some sort of murder mystery in space would be fun. At first it was going to be a sort of homage to a lot of you know, horror and monster movies, and then and Clue was one of them, but you know, we loved it so much, and Syfy really loved it, especially Josh at Syfy really loved the idea of you know, spoofing Clue. So it kind of ended up being, you know, a complete Clue inspired episode, of course, with some monster action.
Awesome. I got a comment from the chat. Suzanne Taylor says, I love that all season we've complained as we meet new characters and Jem kills them off, but this episode we were like, murder, murder, murder.
Right? I know, you were ready for it. You knew the murder was coming this episode.
For sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then leading into the episode, a question for you as well. What was the process and the decision-making force behind picking each character to be the different characters in Clue? And some of them switch a little bit because I was trying to pace along. I'm like, wait, but there are different ones. But that was kind of fun. So what was the process of like, this person's this, but wait, we're going to have them do that part? Walk me through it.
Yeah, it wasn't so much about we wanted these characters coming into, you know, every one of them had to have, you know, was just referencing that particular Clue character. We wanted them to have the freedom to play different quotes from the show, to be in different situations. You know, I thought that kind of gave us a lot more freedom in the room, and allowed us to kind of to touch upon more references that way. So, you know, we obviously wanted to play on the color theme. They all had their color coded uniforms. They were all named after the cast of the original movie, but we wanted them to just have a bit more freedom in terms of the narrative for the episode, so that you know, a few of them could play kind of different lines from the source material.
Very cool. I love it. Yeah. Now, James, when you go watch, you have to report back.
Yeah, I'm actually getting words from a couple people in the chat now. They're telling me that if I go back to watch Clue, I'll understand it even more after watching this episode. So it kind of works in a reverse pattern for me.
Yeah. It was when we were kind of coming up with the references, it was really a case of, you know, writing down all these kind of fun Clue moments and how we can make them work within our story. So, you know, the famous flames on the side of my head quote, right? It's obviously such an iconic line and a really tough one to put in, especially if it's like, okay, with, you know, we want Mrs. White, who I believe was Khan, who was killed off earlier on. So, you know, it couldn't be from Khan, and it just worked organically when, you know, the candlestick of fire came out. We were like, well,
that
was
was
the
so
perfect
good
time to throw this line in. So it was sort of, it allowed us to be a bit more organic.
Oh, we got some awesome quotes here in the chat. Thank you, everybody. Great ones. Relentless 8 Goddess says, named after the cast, and Tim ordered curry. I didn't even notice that one. That's good. Tracy Williams asked, and I was kind of curious, and I thought so too, was the music from Clue as well? Are some of the songs?
No, the music was, again, it's our same composers, Pressure Cooker Studios in Cape Town. You know, we've definitely got a unique sound for Vagrant Queen, and this episode, I you know, it was super fun for them. I told them to watch Clue and said we were going for something like this, and so every track in that is original piece composed by them in the style of Clue.
Wow,
very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there were some songs that made me go, wait, was this in the movie? But I guess that's a sign they did a good job, because it makes me think it was.
Yeah, we had 2 songs in there. Obviously, the Shake, Rattle, and Roll, the 2 songs that play in the original movie, we licensed for the episode as well.
Okay, nice, very cool. Barbie Evans says, did anyone request who they wanted to play or scenes they wanted to be in?
Did the actors request? No, they not really. I think there were a few extra lines thrown in on set. You know, whenever we could throw another kind of reference in, we would.
Okay.
Yeah, and then obviously, you know, the cast had seen the movie, so there were certain moments where they would kind of, you know, think back to Clue in terms of how that original actor played it.
Yeah. Similar scene, a couple referenced it. Alicia Rollins, Suzanne Taylor, and then Relentless Goddess talking about the let us in, let us in, let us out. That's great.
Yes, that had to go in. That was one of my favorite moments. Yeah. And I think we were trying to figure out as well where that could be, and so we wrote the washroom and the secret passageway that leads into the washroom.
Perfect. Then Trace Williams also asked, has the cast seen Clue?
Has the cast seen Clue?
Yeah, like before you filmed it, had all the actors seen Clue, and so they were familiar with the references?
Yes. Yeah, everyone knew going in that it was that we were playing homage to Clue, and it was heavily referencing Clue. So yeah, everyone going in had seen it before.
Somebody was mentioning that Adrienne hadn't seen it, maybe?
She hadn't before. Before she knew that it was going to be a Clue reference. So I think she kind of watched it the week leading up or something.
Ooh, I like this one. Also, shout out to the Vagrant Gifts on Twitter. James, I don't know if you noticed, they had shot-for-shot references from the episode to the movie Clue.
I was like, everyone was liking it on Twitter, and I was like, why am I the only person who doesn't understand this?
Because you haven't seen the movie. Yeah, that was great.
And then Vagrant Gifts in the chat asks, in season 2, are there any other films you would like to dedicate episodes to?
There are too many. One, I would love to do a musical episode, and I've promised Josh. Yes, I promised Josh from Syfy that we will most definitely reference Grease 2.
Oh, yay!
Nice. I will hold my promise.
All right. Well, I'm so glad we've done a whole bunch of deep dive of questions of this episode, because I think it was just so fun to learn a lot of the behind the scenes, especially if you have watched Clue. So the beginning of the episode, we have everybody planning. They're doing everything. Go Team Winnie. And then the alcohol, how it just makes everybody a little more like loose-lipped, and I love you guys.
Yep.
But doesn't quite go the way everybody wants.
Yeah, there was a few things that was really important for me to do in this episode. I mean, obviously, you know, it's a very fun, ridiculous episode that sort of takes a step away from the larger season arc for a while. But I wanted to continue the stories of, you know, Elida and Isaac, and Elida and Amae, you know, especially after the team had just sort of split up. So it was important to have a couple scenes in there to kind of continue their stories. The Elida Isaac reunion, the apology from them both, and you know, another moment with Elida and Amae, because, you know, we know at this point there are feelings that Amae has said, has told Isaac in 7, and while Elida hasn't quite said it yet, there's you know, we can tell that there's something there. She told Isaac that you know, she's scared to lose it again, to lose what she has, and so that's weighing on her. So it was important to kind of put those moments in, scattered throughout this ridiculous Clue episode.
Yes. I lay how she says, you know, they're talking, as they were saying, Elida and Isaac, it's better with her around, referring to Amae, like the ship is just better. Just their camaraderie works well. Like they're a really good group to work together. And then, I was so glad that they had a moment to chit chat and everything and get together. But then we get into the arrival of the Intergalactic Parking Police Force, essentially.
Yeah. Yes.
So what was the influence for like their vibe? Is it very directly from the comic, or did you want to give them a certain, style or how they interact with the rest of the characters?
Yeah, I think, tonally, it was just kind of keeping with this style and tone we've kind of set out in season 1, which is just very fun and irreverent and ridiculous. It's an intergalactic parking authority, and that really came about in an earlier episode. We saw Isaac's ship being towed, and that was one of the rules in the room was to just kind of keep it fun and keep it relatable. And so this idea of getting towed or getting parking tickets came up, and then when we were sort of working on what the bottle episode could be and who could be the sort of antagonist in this episode, because Laz was taking a break for that episode. We kind of threw back to the parking authority and thought, well, what if they show up? What if they take the ship? But we wanted something very fun and irreverent.
Nice. James, what do you think of they get the food and the soup slurping? So we get one kind of gross, but then that goes into the gross of that face destroyed.
Came out of nowhere. Yeah, I thought, I don't know why, I always think of this show as this, it's very, it is a lighthearted show, but every now and again, that scene in particular with the guy's face all sprawled out, I was like, whoa, this is real. So those moments too, always, it was a good moment too within this episode, because it was on the heels of so many cheeky moments, and it's oh, don't forget, this is still Vagrant Queen. Don't let these little jokes fool you. You still can get the good. So I love those moments. That particular really made me think about what was to come for the episode, because again, going into it was very funny. I was like, oh, well, we won't see some real stuff go down in this episode. So I really liked it.
Cool. Yeah, we wanted to make sure that, I think I mentioned this last time, it's quite a gratuitous show, at times, and that was kind of part of this unique tone we were going for. I think you don't really sort of see that in a lot of space operas and space shows. There's a lot of laser fight and there's never any blood, and that was something that we really liked about the comic books as well. And that I think Max and Jason did a really great job of, as was showing sort of some of the violence within all these fights. And so that episode 8 couldn't be any different. We had to kind of keep that gore alive.
Yes, it looks so good. It was just oh, and I like that they're like, is he really dead? It's come on.
Come on, homie, he's dead.
But we see people come back. Jem, you kind of mentioned it, and we'll bring back that moment. We have Amae and Elida when they're kind of going through the ship. That moment stood out wonderfully awkward, and I wouldn't change anything. And friend zone moment. James, how are you feeling then?
About which moment again? I'm sorry.
The moment Elida and Amae are walking and they're doing their searching, and they have the friend zone essentially of I wouldn't change anything, but pat on the shoulder, and it's
this is I don't know, I feel like I'm part of this blossoming relationship, because it's every episode we get a little bit closer and a little bit closer to them kissing. And I think if I'm not mistaken, in this episode it happened a couple times. I think it happened again. They had another quick little moment where I thought that there was going to be something that happens between them. It's become this elusive thing.
Nope.
I know. I was
nope.
I want to say this time, was it Elida who made the kind of inch forward? I don't remember.
I think
it was.
They they kind of both did, but Elida is, we've seen Amae admit her feelings in the last episode, and Elida hasn't quite got there. There's kind of fear on her part. She's scared to lose this family that she's built, especially after what they all went through. And so it's Elida's kind of turn to kind of put up that friend wall.
And one thing I got out of this episode too, this is one of the first times I'd seen Isaac just point blank to Elida say, like, I know you have feelings for her, like, express them. Because I feel like it was always kind of danced around amongst the three of them, the feelings that the two girls have. This is one of the first times I think I'd seen Isaac say, as a bystander, I see it and seek it, go after it.
Yeah, and one of the first times we've seen Isaac have a genuine heart-to-heart with Elida as well. They kind of had this bro-y friendship where they'll, they won't. They've never really spoken about proper feelings and things, and that's always been Amae's thing. But this is, we saw them genuinely connect, and it's certainly been the last few episodes a big turning point for Isaac.
I like that you said this bro-y relationship, and remind me of the joke that was so good of "I need to get off."
Oh yeah, that was good. That was good.
Was so good.
Now's not the time to be getting off. Shout out to Mika Collins for that joke. Yeah.
Speaking of jokes that kind of like I think need to be displayed, there was another scene where they're doing pull the Franken something, the hot dog.
Frankenfurters.
I thought that was very funny. And the one Admiral was like, "It's a long black red button." And I was like, wait, what is going on? I thought that scene was very funny. I loved. We all had so much fun shooting that scene. Yeah, the Frankenfurters, of course, are another kind of reference to the amazing Tim Curry.
Dr. Frankenfurter.
Yeah, and when we were trying to figure out how we could, in the movie they've got these straws or the that they're cutting to see who goes with who. We're trying to figure out how to do that, and we it made sense. Well, why is it not what they just ordered from Gloober Eats? And so that's how that scene came about. It was very, very fun to shoot. That was the scene. Tim was actually kind of lobbing at these sausages and his finger.
Oh no!
Yeah, I was like, that seems like a silly way to cut them. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, didn't tell any of us. He just kept going with the scene, and then I called cut, and he's like, "I'll be right back," and leave set and just blood everywhere.
Oh no! Actually, speaking of that, someone on Twitter mentioned that this episode had quite a few different accidents.
Accidents?
Was there any other accidents besides that one of the cut, or anything else behind the scenes?
No.
Okay.
No. Tim likes to try and spread this rumor about someone tasering themselves, but that's just a lie, Tim.
Oh, I'm glad you clarified that, because someone mentioned that. And I'm like, okay.
I might have maybe accidentally while talking about taser safety.
Oh.
Okay.
How bad was the tasering?
It wasn't bad, but it was very funny.
I was gonna say video or it didn't happen, right?
Yeah, right.
So then we get the other baddie. James, what did you think of this space bug spider lady?
Loved it. I love too. I feel like we never give credit to Winnie Bot, because Winnie Bot be dropping facts on us way early in the episode about like what's coming, like these little nuggets. Because she mentions that like the female bug is like the one to not mess around with. She's like the queen bug. So it was cool to see, like, if you listen carefully, you can kind of see that foreshadowing happen. I love the bug. I love the sass of the bug. I love the bug was like kind of like a human being in a sense, because it had that attitude. And like I know that the bug took on some of the characteristics of Leslie as well, because I remember I think it was Tim or Isaac who like tried to play off of her running her mouth all the time. He was like asking her questions as they were pinned down. So I love that blending of the two characters into one. So I thought it was a cool idea.
Cool. Yeah. yeah, the bug went through many kind of iterations, and you know, who do we want this character to be? At one point was kind of very different from the character that we settled on. It was very funny, but we realized it had sort of become like a spider version of what we had already done with Clive in the earlier episodes. And so yeah, this character came about. That line, the female of the species is more deadly than the male. Again, it just fit organically into that moment, but was another, you know, we got to throw back the clue again with that, and introduce a really fun monster. And then, you know, because it's I think we, you know, I think it's like the 3-4 acts we're playing on that clue theme, and then we kind of switch it to a kind of, you know, clue alien mashup in space.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that essentially she's a Black Widow, which would go with Mrs. White, and then it's the Flames. I was like, yes.
Yeah,
but,
cool.
James, don't trust Mrs. White.
Okay, so I don't know what that means, but I'm not going to trust this lady.
I mean, don't trust any of them, but.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you picked up on that. And again, like, it was just that line being one of the most iconic in the movie, the flames on the side of my head.
Yes.
Yeah, we managed to kind of fit that in organically with that fire moment. So
yes,
I'm really glad we got that one in.
Then we have, you had mentioned before we started, so with that spider, you were saying how the body, the main part, is practical, and then the legs are digital.
Yeah. When I was pitching the idea, because you know, we're a pretty low budget show, and we do a lot with our budget. But when I was pitching this bottle episode and suddenly said, you know, and there's this giant spider, you know, everyone was like, oh, how are we going to do that? And so, like any episode, any character, whenever we could do something practical, we will. And so yeah, the Corporal is played by a wonderful actress named Anne Hirsch. You know, and I love, she came in with so many great quirky mannerisms and you know, moments that she brought to that character. And everything from, you know, head to her waist is practical, including the big kind of spider butt. That's all practical. And then she wore these green leggings, which are great. I'll try and find some fun behind the scenes shots of that, of this half spider with green leggings. Yeah, all those legs are CG, and then we obviously added the blinks as well.
Very cool. Yeah, I loved it because it looked really creepy,
yeah,
but almost like you can familiar and alien at the same time.
Yeah, so she's one of my favorites. One of my favorite characters, creatures of the show, for sure.
Oof. Yeah, definitely a dangerous one. So you get the spike to the head. Now, James, what did you think of the zombie people essentially coming back?
Loved it. Like, big. now this is when I was like, okay, I understand all of these references now. Like, I'm a big zombie fan, so I love the coming back. I thought that was such a cool spin. Because again, like, I haven't seen Clue. I guess now you guys are talking about it, I didn't understand like the little nuanced jokes along the way. But all the zombie stuff, I was like, I'm here for that. Love that they all came back. Love the what is it? The mannequin challenge that we did this episode. Love that. It's really, really cool. I was like, this one came towards the end of the episode. I was like waiting for it. I was like, when is it coming? I haven't seen it yet. So definitely big shout out to your CD team for that. That was awesome.
Cool, thank you. We had a lot of fun with this one. It was, I guess, one of the more ambitious of the season, because, you know, we're going throughout the whole ship and we're going in multiple rooms. And those moments are always designed to sort of be hero moments as well. And so, you know, we had to wait until the end when they were finally kicking ass.
Also, I think I saw a couple behind the scenes pictures or something. So you had people suspended so you could have them in the air.
Yes.
Alida's kick was up. Did she have some stance holding
that.
her, or was she holding that the whole time?
She had a stand. I mean, she could hold it. All the stands are really just to make sure that there's, no movement, even
nice.
slight wobbles. And then obviously all of those green boxes and stands are painted out.
Nice. Yeah, that mannequin challenge is great. A few people in the chat were commenting how much they really enjoyed it. And that leads us to another point in that. So we get the people coming back, which is sort of a thing that happens in Clue, James. So look out for that of, are they really dead? Where did the body go? The spiders coming out of the facial orifices was so gross for me. I was like, it's one of those things of like, everybody does have those things that bother them the most, like fingers getting cut or whatever, or eyes, or, those things. But yeah, definitely that I was like,
Yeah. Yep. Spiders, I guess, a lot of people's fears, right? So that particular moment.
It wasn't so much spiders, but the idea of like a critter coming out of you. It was like, no, it was so good. Those special effects, like the ears, the nose, and everything was just so gross. And somebody else in the chat, sorry, I missed where it was, but they commented on that. That was so, I guess it's just a destruction of your own self. So it is really like,
it's creepy. Yeah. It's creepy.
But then they figure out, well, stab them in the mouth. That's how you do it. Get rid of them. And then it's kind of like zombies. Yeah. It's like a headshot. Yep. Then they find another gross part. We got the digging through the spider butt too, which is gross. What was that black stuff?
That was one of the many kind of formulas of goo that we had on the show. And we had many, to the point where I'd have a few meetings in pre-production about what type of goo do you want for this situation, and then what type of color. And I would literally have the special effects guys would bring in these little tubs, these little containers, and I would kind of just play with the goo. Or this one. Oh no, this goo. Let's go with this goo in black. Can we get this goo in black? Thank you.
I have to say the best goo of the entire series thus far was the character Trev on episode like 2 or 3, where he's like talking to Lazaro and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry about all this extra stuff I have." I thought that goo was the best.
Oh yes, Trev was in episode 7. The slimy guy, right?
Yeah. At the very, very end of an episode, maybe 2 or 3, I think it was.
I think we even just credit him as a slimy alien, who worked for Clive and then went to sell Elida out to Laz at the end. That's at the end of episode 3, and it's really fun that you bring that up, because that slimy alien is played by an actor called Carl Nell. And he was in episode 8.
Oh, interesting.
Who was he? Who was he?
That's a.
This is the game I played with my editor.
Okay.
This actor's been another character. Who is it? So Carnell, who played the slimy alien, was also Agent Lloyd, who was the first to die.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
We had a few.
Nice. He didn't last long.
Some overlaps.
He
Yeah.
didn't last long.
Yeah.
Then we have the end of the episode. They find out, they get a message that the people loyal to the crown are going to bomb the city where Lazarus is. Like, well, we can't really take him out. We may as well just bomb it, which is like, it's a little bit of overkill, because there's probably plenty of innocent people there. But
there's
end.
Many innocent people. We wanted to the finale to kind of tie it back into our main arc to lead us into the finale. And that's Bolon leaving that transmission, talking about General Desai, their leader, who we met in episode 3. And they obviously know the power of the Stirzad. They were after, this weapon. And they know it's in the wrong hands. And so, they believe that this is, they can't fight him with this power. This is the only way to stop him. And obviously our team don't agree with that.
They do not. One other interesting thing from the chat, a few people are wondering, is there a floor plan to the Winnipeg available that people can see?
There is a floor plan available. Our amazing concept artist Dion has one. And it's fun because really we've only sort of kind of really discovered, 2/3 of the ship. There's a third of the ship that we were always kind of keeping to explore in the next season.
Nice. Well, there you have it, everybody who was asking about it. Maybe we'll see you later on.
Yes, we would love. Dion and I have spoken about kind of putting together sort of behind the scenes making of Vagrant Queen, because there's just so much phenomenal artwork and concept work that from all departments that went into it, that it would just be such a shame for fans not to see it. And so we have been working on something like that. So just stay tuned.
Very cool. Nice.
Interesting.
We're going to do our special segment in just a second. We'll also have our predictions. James, any other comments on the episode before we get into our special segment?
No, love this episode. Didn't realize the Winnipeg had a doorbell until now. Super interesting. Didn't know that. Yeah, that's the only thing I wanted to bring up that we discussed. We should have been using that a long time ago.
It's ridiculous. And like Amae said, just something she's playing with.
Yeah, exactly.
Why do you need a doorbell on a spaceship?
Who knows?
Because we needed one.
Nice. All right, so now we're going to get into our special segment. And James, what is that special segment called?
So this time, it's going to be a bit different. We have a special edition special segment called Winnie Who? Winnie What? Winnie Wait. Okay, so now look. Now, last time Miss Jen was on the show, she gave us a little tease about a couple characters. I think the character we discussed for our Winnie Who, Winnie What special segment last time was Robin Scott. And you told us to look out for her in a future episode because if you liked her, you may see more of her. Okay, so we super appreciate that. So I did a little bit of digging, as your boy does, and I found a couple things. So in this episode, we did have, obviously, the Southern Belle herself, Miss Leslie, was obviously Robin Scott. So like, I want to show the first image on that. Really, really dope actress. Shout out to her. We love you. Second character we saw was the Agent McKean. That was Leon Klingman, who we reached out today, and he gave us confirmation that it was indeed him. He tweeted us back today saying that, yep, that's me. So did a bit more digging. And as I was looking through some of the credits, I tweeted out today, and I can pull up the tweet, I can show you guys, and you liked it today, Jem. And I said, also, wait, hold up. I spot another recurring actor, Agent Maul. So Agent Maul is played by actor Keno Lee, aka our boy Clive. And I said we would discuss that, so we're doing that now. So, all right. So now look, I'm like seeing familiar faces. I'm like, okay, this is super interesting, but I still need to get our Winnie Who, Winnie What actor. So I'm going through the credits of the show, and I'm going down and looking, and I see Glover Eastdriver, and I thought he was like be the coolest person to choose. I was like, he's so dope. I'm going down further, and I see Alien Monster Spider. Now, the last credit that I see is Winnie Bot Voice. And I see a very familiar name next to Winnie Bot Voice. Winnie Bot is played by Miss Robin Scott, aka Raquel, aka Miss Leslie. And I was so shook by this. I sent Carrie a text, and I screenshotted the text today and sent it to you guys, and I'll show you on screen now. It says, it's Robin Scott, aka Raquel, aka Leslie, aka Winnie Bot. This whole time, I had no idea. And Carrie replies back with the, oh, and I said, girl, I'm shook. I could not believe it. So are the credits true? Is Winnie Bot, has Winnie Bot this whole time been our girl, Robin Scott?
She has, yeah.
Oh!
And we decided on Winnie's voice a little later, when we were in post. But basically, Robin Scott is just a phenomenal talent. She really is. She's a voice actor as well, so she's so great with voices and accents and creating these unique characters. And so, she first auditioned for Rykel. She blew us away. She was hilarious. She brought so much humor to this villainous role. And when we were casting for 8, the great thing about this show is there's so many kind of heavy prosthetics that you can bring back these actors that you love working with, and they're super talented, and kind of have them play another role and kind of get away with it because of all of this alien makeup. And so we knew that we wanted her back as one of the parking authority characters. And then when we were in post and we were throwing out names for Winnibot, obviously she came into the mix and she did some samples, and it was just perfect. And once I heard her play Winnibot, it's hard to hear anything else or anyone else. So yeah, Robin is fantastic. I love working with her, and I'm sure going forward, she'll continue to be a big part of the Vagrant Queen world.
Wonderful.
Also, shout out to Winnibot for the electric shock at the end. I was like, woo,
yeah.
Girl pulling through again.
Where would they be without her, right?
Yes. I also we had a couple people in the chat point out that Barbie Evans said, referring to Robin, she said on Adrian's live that she was super happy to cozy up to Tim.
Ooh.
Tracy Williams says, haha, I would be too.
Yeah. That's
and then
photo that she posted.
And then Tammy Roddell, sorry if I'm saying these wrong, incredibly talented voice actor Robin Scott. Yes, excellent job. She was very fun to watch there. And then off that too, Suzanne Taylor says the prosthetics are so good on this show. You can really see facial expressions.
Yes, our prosthetics team are incredible, and they were amazing to work with as well.
Agreed. They're so good.
Yeah, that's another thing. This making of that we want to put together. They've got so many kind of sketches and molds, and they've documented the process of creating each of these characters, and I'd love for people to see it.
Well, you really believe they're like another species, like the moment Robin has with Tim of does everybody from Earth look like you? And I know it's a different kind of flirting and everything, but looking at them as two creatures, you could see this is what my people look like. That's what your people look like. Do they look like you on your planet? And I was like, it really helped you be in that world to believe that they're different species.
Cool. Yeah. I was blown away by what they could do on our budget as well.
So now we are at the end of the after show. We'll do some really quick predictions. Get into predictions.
Yes.
Yeah. It's yay! There we go. When we're in this studio, we get lights too, but we're all at home now. So, James, what are some quick predictions from you?
Quickly, I think that we have the goal now. We're on the path. We have, I think we've got all the jitters out of our system. The team is back together. We know exactly what we need to do. I do think it's interesting throwing this wrench in with General Desai. I think that's how you say her name. Wanting to bomb the city. That's a curveball I didn't really expect. So I'm interested to see how that progresses and how that changes what I thought would be the end goal of Elida. So that's what I'm thinking is going to happen moving forward.
They quickly mention a secret passage in the castle. So I'm wondering how this is going to work out. I'm wondering if that elusive kiss will maybe come in the final episode. Can we at least get it in season 1? I mean, yes, a natural, slow romantic burn is okay, but come on. Or at least have Elida go, fine, let's take the next step. Maybe they don't kiss on the first date. But yeah, I think probably 9 will leave our characters feeling like all hope is lost, but somehow they'll figure it out and then it'll be solved in 10.
Fingers crossed.
So very, very broad and generic, but yes. Well, I know, Jem, you're probably sitting there and like just poker face and laughing at our predictions.
She's doing well. Doing well.
I'm very excited for you all to watch the finales.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Ooh, or maybe it's a post-credit scene. I like this. Tammy Rodell says, the kiss prediction, it will happen just before the end credits of episode 10.
Okay, Tammy.
Yeah.
We see you, girl. Okay, Tammy.
And then also random clue question I just remembered too. Jem, why didn't we get but wait, that's not, I mean, we kind of had but that's waitlist didn't happen. I almost wanted that as a post-credit scene.
Yeah, we spoke about actually shooting some alternate endings, and that would be fun. We certainly spoke about it. The reality was just time didn't allow for it. We wanted to kind of make sure that we used the sort of limited time we had to make the episode as awesome as it could be. But that was certainly something that an idea we were toying with.
Very cool. Yeah, James Finn, look out for that. I mean, they have a moment on the ship because they're like, I like how Amae is the voice of reason. This is how it happened. And Isaac's like, yeah, that's how it happened. And then
it had to be referenced because it's such an iconic line. So Tim says, Isaac, but here's how it really happened. And he's like, no, you got it. So yeah, we couldn't go into that amazing Tim Curry spiel that he has in Clue, but we certainly had to reference it.
Well, I do like you saying that because then that kind of confirms my suspicions that Isaac was pretty much the butler most of the time. He was mostly Tim Curry.
Mostly, very much, yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us, Jem. It was such a true pleasure to dive into this episode, get all behind the scenes. We hope all of you watching enjoyed it as well.
It's always a pleasure.
Yay. And then James, any final words?
No, loved it. Look out for us next week. You can follow me at Terrell James Maple on Instagram, James Maple Actor on Twitter, and look out for articles weekly from me as well on AfterBuzz TV.
Nice. Awesome. And then, Jem, 1, where can people find you? And 2, some Vagrant Queen gifts in the chat. Also ask, how can people help for the renewal for season 2?
Good question. I think just keep tuning in every week to Syfy, Thursday 11, 10 Central. Just keep tuning in, especially for those final episodes. That's really the best thing fans can do to help us get that second season. You can find me on Twitter at Jemga, Jemga, or Instagram at Jemgarrod.
Nice. Well, thank you so much. My name is Carrie Lane. You can find me online at Carrie D Lane. That's KARIDLANE. And again, Jem, is so fun. And then we can't wait to see the final 2 episodes.
Yes.
I can't wait. I'm excited. I'll be live tweeting again for both with the cast.
Oh, dope.
Nice. Yay. And again, thank you everybody who watched this live. If you're watching it later, please comment down below, share this episode. I know people who missed it are going to want to know all those Clue behind the scenes info tidbits, which were so fun to learn about and confirm. All right. Again, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And we'll see you all next week.
Peace.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.